Hello, everybody. Jeff Mason and Jimmy Clare coming to you, episode 57, right before Thanksgiving. So we just want to say hello to everybody and happy Thanksgiving. And hey, Jimmy, I am going to pass it over to you and just have you introduce yourself quickly, and we'll get this podcast going.
My name is Jimmy Clare. I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm from Ambler, Pennsylvania, and my business is Crazy Fitness Guy.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. And folks, thanks for tuning in. Again, if you want to subscribe, we would love your subscription. Go to the lower right-hand corner of your screen. You'll see a little pinwheel favicon icon there. Hover over it. Some point during the streaming, you'll see some subscribe invitations as well. And of course, you can go on our YouTube channel or my website at SimpleBiz360.com and subscribe there as well. So we're very excited about today, and I'll tell you why. I have not known Jimmy for all that long, but I knew his father, and in fact, in New York City back in the mid-'80s when I was a young pup out of college, in my first year of business endeavors, I had the distinct pleasure, Jimmy, of making the acquaintance of your father, Dennis Clare, at American International Group, 70 Pine Street, my friend, downtown Wall Street. Never forget it. And he was just so gracious and just so helpful for a young guy like myself in my career. And I never forgot that. And when I published the book, I reached out to him and connected with him, and he mentioned what you're doing. So I said, hey, this sounds like a great episode to get together with Jimmy and, let him speak to an audience that I don't speak to that often. And you've really got a great story. So without any further ado, I am going to just launch into some questions, Jimmy, if it's okay. So Crazy Fitness Guy, you run a website, you run a blog, you run a podcast, Crazy Fitness Guy, Healthy Living Podcast. So you're doing a lot of things, but you have a special mission. What is that special mission, if you could, Jimmy?
My special mission is promoting healthy living through my autistic eyes, and just educating people that autism is not the end of the world. Okay.
So, Jimmy, you were diagnosed with autism in your youth, I would imagine. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was diagnosed officially around, I think it was around the elementary school. I remember going to see this doctor and like maybe twice or three times a week. And she asked me all these different questions. And she wanted me, and she just basically asked me all these questions and different tests. And she finally came up with a diagnosis when I was in the room, but they kind of talked like I wasn't there in the room. And so I was like, I really didn't understand what autism was until probably around high school.
Wow.
Because I kind of like to find it out that it was by myself and not somebody just telling me, hey, you're autistic. And
yeah. So your mission is projecting and promoting healthy living through, you said, your autistic eyes. Now, who would your audience be? Is it strictly just people that are dealing with autism, or is it other things as well?
I would say it'd be a mix of both. So for people who are on the spectrum and off the spectrum, so it could be adults who know someone, whether their neighbor or friends or family, or someone within their own family, they would have autism, and if they don't have autism, they just be informational to those who are not autistic. So right. I try to do a mix of both.
Okay.
I don't know if sometimes it comes out that way, but.
Well, and I've listened to some of the podcasts, and I would have to agree it does. I mean, you had running. I wrote it down here. Running with Patricia. And she was, she's a cancer survivor. So, it was a great episode to talk about, the healthy lifestyle and some of the things that could help, anyone really. I mean, but it's, When I think about autism, and again, processing it from my angle, from the outside looking in, it just seems like there's been a lot of advancement over the last couple decades. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of advancement towards understanding nutrition in autism. Am I correct on that?
I believe that I agree with that, but I also think that I'm actually creating a TED Talk idea around that autism doesn't need to be cured, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there like the celebrity influencers and other celebrity public figures saying that autism needs to be cured, and I'm not really understanding why. And I get it, it's a scary diagnosis. I don't know how my parents were feeling at the time of it because I was very young, and so I don't feel like it's the end of the world. It's like I'm running my own website, I'm running my own podcast,
Yes.
and it's like sky's the limit.
Yes. Listen, I would agree. And, folks, by the way, we were just talking the other day, and we were just chatting about some of the podcast venues that we've been brought over to. And one of them was Amazon Music. And recently Jimmy said, wow, I would love to be on Amazon. And lo and behold, they picked him up and he was on it. And we kind of discovered it together in a conversation. But you have to listen to some of his podcasts. It's Crazy Fitness Guy, Healthy Living Podcast on a ton of venues. But Jimmy, I would have to, it's interesting that it's an interesting perspective that you are saying you're learning to live with it, that you don't necessarily, you could make the argument it doesn't have to be cured, that you can live with it. So would that be a common thread in every podcast and blog that you're putting out?
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely would agree with that assumption. I try to convey that message a little bit here and there, maybe not strictly in every single episode,
Okay.
but just the gist of it, basically.
Okay. Sure. Okay, great. So what inspired you to start this? Correct me if I'm wrong. You're 27 years old. Is that correct?
Yep.
What inspired you to start this company, and when did you start it actually?
I started April 12th, 2017. I started it as kind of, I really liked my English teacher in my college, and what I really liked about him is that he was like open-minded. He wrote a lot of his own books, and he said, if you want to continue becoming a writer and practicing your writing, keep writing every single day. And so I was like, well, how can I keep writing every single day? I couldn't see myself writing in a Google Doc or a Word document every single day. So I was like, I came up with some absurd idea. Let's start a website. And that's how I began.
No kidding. So really inspired by a college professor, and how cool. I mean, that's great. So have you engaged in writing frequently since you did that? I mean, is it an everyday thing for you, or once a week, or how often is it?
It's a weekly blog. I try to post 2 to 3 articles a month, and then I have a monthly podcast which goes out once a month.
Right.
Yes, I'm just all over the place.
Right. Well, I give you a lot of credit for that. I'll tell you what, I tried doing blogs right out of the gate. Wow, very time consuming if you want to do them right. And it just was, honestly, with doing a weekly show, it was just too much for me to chew off on and still do my day job, I mean, what I do normally, which is run a sales agency. So yeah, it was too much for me. So I have to applaud you for sticking with it, at least with that frequency of, once a week, so to speak. So you have this college mentor, correct? I mean, it's encouragement from the college professor, but was this person also your mentor in your opinion, or?
At first, he was the start. He was a mentor to start when I was in his classes. I took two of his classes. The second one was at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I never did that for anyone because like I'm a morning person, but ready for school at 8 o'clock in the morning, no thanks. But now I have two different mentors. One of mine, his name is Cynthia Worth, who used to be my job coach, and now she's mentoring me through my motivational speaking skills, and she has a lot of helpful contacts that I met. She gave me his contact information about another autism advocate who I'm friends with. I can't say her name because I didn't ask permission ahead of time.
Sure, no problem.
I would have.
No problem. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So you mentioned, and I've heard you use the phrase a couple times, autism advocate, and I can't remember your exact quote from one of your podcasts, but I remember one time you mentioned some displeasure on you weren't exactly fond of a certain term that people in the discussion space use to describe autism. How do you describe yourself as an autism advocate? Is that what you say?
I describe myself as an autism advocate because I talk a lot of. If anybody ever goes to my website, I have a lot of articles about autism, and even some of my other posts are not specifically categorized on autistic or autism. Some of my blog posts, I kind of slip a few bits and pieces here and there, yeah, I kind of feel like I don't say I'm like an scientific expert of autism, but since I live with it every single day,
yeah,
who would know more than me?
Well, and help us out too, and on this side of the fence, Jimmy, honestly, because whatever we can do to help shape some of the narrative that goes out there. I think if I'm not mistaken, the podcast I heard you mention, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was autism challenged, and you said something you don't like that terminology. And
I think it was disabilities. I never liked the word disabilities because it just sounds like a really big negative word.
Yeah.
It's like telling me like, oh, well, it's one, it's kind of offensive to people who are literally disabled, who are in a wheelchair,
right,
or in a walker,
right,
and it's like, oh, that person's disabled.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not disabled. I can physically walk. I can physically do exercises and fitness and everything. And it's just like a very limiting word. And I was like, why are you limiting?
Yeah.
Like, you tell me basically because I'm autistic, I can't do this. And I got a lot of, when I was diagnosed with autism, I had a long list of stuff, which I don't remember the long list of doctors telling me, you can't do this. And yet I already like overcame pretty much like half of the list. And I was like, oh yeah, well, watch me.
Yeah, well, and thank you for explaining that. And honestly, we America loves, they love watching somebody rise above the cards they've been dealt and the situation they're dealing with. And, it fascinates us. I think we as a culture have an appetite for hearing these stories. So I think your story is just one that's very intriguing because you're continuing to press forward. You're continuing to be a go-getter, and you're looking at all this, correct me if I'm wrong, as inspiration for yourself to do other things and to bloom in business. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, definitely. One of my the podcasters who interviewed me today, earlier today, they said to me when they were looking at my website, they just said, I was like, it seems like to me that like, you like challenges. And it's like, you bet. And it's like, uh, so one of my friends, his wife, was joking with me. I was like, I bet you can't get in 20 podcasts by Thanksgiving. And I was like, you shouldn't have bet me. And it's like, I already have like 6 others lined up. And it's like, I automatically win.
Oh, that's great. That's great. See, I mean, you're exceeding the expectations and of yourself. Even you're just challenging yourself to do something, and which I find just fascinating. I mean, you really. I've looked at all your, social media presence and all your digital presence, and wow, I've got to hand it to you. You've really got your company injected into a lot of different things, which I'm very impressed by. And it's certainly just very, very, I mean, no other word for it, impressive. So this is one of the things that fascinated me about your story. So not only is nutrition a factor for you, but exercise, and really exercise becomes a big part of your story. Tell us a little bit about exercise and how it's helped you with autism.
Well, when I was growing up in public school, I had a lot of meltdowns as being on the autism spectrum. They call it, I think the word referred to, they call it a meltdown, and where I just like have so much information processed in my head, and everything just comes spilling out. And sometimes, like to me, they were uncontrollable at the time, and I got put on some medication, and which caused me to gain some weight, and but also it was also because I was eating a lot of unhealthy stuff like pizza, French fries every single day in the school cafeteria, and once I finished, and I didn't want to be on that medication anymore because I was like, I feel like it's okay to be frustrated a little bit as long as it doesn't ruin my day.
Right.
And I didn't really want to be forced into something. I didn't want to be forced to feel like, oh, here's my pretend smile, thank you. And I just feel like it's so awkward. It's like, wait, other humans can get annoyed. Why can't I get annoyed? And it's just this one pill that's just causing this, all these emotions to make me feel like I'm masking myself and not to train me. And so after I got myself off of that medication, I lost 30 pounds with P90X.
Wow. Now, so losing that weight getting off that medication, losing that weight, was it mostly cardio that you were involved in? I mean, was it running? Was it rowing? Was it bicycling?
It's a mix of everything. It was a lot of jumping, squatting, weightlifting, nutrition played a big role in it. I used to think I could eat anything and everything because I worked out, but I finally learned that that's not the case. Yeah, you can have a cheat meal once a week, but you can't just like, oh, well, since I work out, I can eat whatever I want.
Right.
It doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Right.
You have to be a robot.
Trust me, it doesn't. Yeah, I watched some college friends that were really skinny and eating anything they could. I'm like, you know what? Someday it's just gonna backfire on you. And sure enough, next thing you know, they just get caught up with them. But interesting.
My brother.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, he likes to eat everything and everything. He's like, at least I can eat anything I want. And it's like, don't start that road. And it's gonna backfire on you. It's called karma. It's gonna kick you in the butt later on.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, so I'd be a house if I didn't exercise. But so does this exercise also help you with stress? Does it help does it help with your situation at all? I mean, do you find that the stimulation of the blood flow and everything, does this all work in rhythmic fashion for you?
Well, for me, yeah, fitness, I found that it helps me release all the just all the negative energy and in me and all the negative emotions. And I also do kickboxing on the side,
Nice.
along with all the Beachbody programs on Beachbody on Demand. And uh, and right now everything is on Zoom classes, and I don't have a punching bag, but I'm just doing shadow boxing with my Zoom on Zoom with Tailor Karate, and and it just helps me get all the emotions out, and it just makes me feel great. And so now, like every time when I like punch the air, I feel like I was like, okay, whatever's annoying me, it's right in front of me. Boom.
Yeah.
Next. Who's
Yeah.
next in line?
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Well, and now listen, from my vantage point, and I think we've chatted about this a little bit, but I've been a runner for 41 years. I played high school and a little bit of college soccer. And so I've always been, I always like to run. So I started hitting the beaches back in 1979. So I'm starting my 42nd year of running. I've actually run over 35,000 miles, which is the equivalent of running from New York to LA and back almost 6 times, maybe even 6 times by now. But that's a lot in a career. But what it has done for me, it's given me this daily rhythm that when I don't do it, I feel a little bit off kilter. When I do it, I don't know about you, Jimmy, but with me, it feels like my body's an engine and I'm making all the parts of the engine work together and synchronize. I mean, it may sound, corny the way I'm describing it, but I really do feel like the body just synchronizes together and everything just pumps into each other. And I just feel so much better. The endorphins kick in. Doing it in the morning, I get more energy and I have longer energy throughout the day. Do you find that exercise gives you that same type of benefit, if you will?
Yeah, definitely. My parents definitely can tell when if I don't work out right away in the morning. I mean, if it's karate at night, that's fine. But if it's just my Beachbody on Demand workouts on the other 3 days a week that I work on, so I work in total 6 days a week. They can tell when I don't have that morning workout. I become like the Incredible Hulk, just without the green face and the big, really big muscles, and grew like 7 or 8 feet in the air. Maybe it was 10 feet in the air. I don't know.
Does it affect your mood?
Yeah, it does. Like I feel like I'm in a better mood when I do my workout in the morning. I feel like I was like, oh, okay, I'm starting the day off right. I was like, I'm starting positive. That's not like I'm waking up, checking my news feed, and I'm going to go downstairs and have my breakfast and get right to work. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And even on the days when I have karate at night, I did kind of like a light workout in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Nothing like to get me super sweaty, but just like a few push-ups, maybe a few sit-ups here and there just to get the blood flowing, because it's like waking up cold and just checking the phone and emails right away is like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Well, and so I love hearing this. And folks, autism touches a wide spectrum of across this land. It does. And if you're hearing this podcast, I encourage you to tune in. You can always grab it. We have it on our website. We have it on YouTube. It's something you can always go back and listen to and share with other people. But so, Jimmy, autism is there's a wide spectrum of people out there that they're dealing with this. And what I find fascinating is you're an encouragement to people out there that, there's benefits hidden inside daily exercise and the combination of daily exercise and nutrition for someone who's struggling or just living life through autism. Are you finding that with your audiences that you're reaching people and that they're waking up to this and their lives are being changed through this?
I would like to hope so, because I've had a few comments on my the Crazy Fitness Guys Facebook page that I had like two people comment that they said that my articles are very helpful to understand their autistic cousin, and that they feel like they have a closer relationship, and
Right.
they found all my articles helpful, and they told me to keep doing what I keep doing. I was like, wow, I think that's the biggest compliment I ever got.
I mean, doesn't that put a beat in your step? I mean, doesn't that kind of give you some real gratification?
Definitely. And I even got like uh, some other different. I also had a lot of other different reviews for my people who found my speeches helpful as well for my podcasting. Um,
Great, great. So nutrition is a big part of, I just think in my family, we have found that as we move away from foods that are heavily processed, we move away from high fructose, we move into more of the organic, more of the natural products as we try to get toxins out of our life and this, that, the other. I mean, we find there's so many improvements just through this attitude of proper nutrition in our lives. Tell us how you've changed, or when did you change your eating habits, your nutrition approach, and what does it consist of today?
I changed my eating habits like 10 years ago. This might sound drastic for people over and it might not work for some, but I cut out a lot of candy. I cut out soda. I cut out pizza and French fries. And it's not also because it's just bad for you, but I had a very bad, like a lot of pimples during my teenage years. And it was just like all of my brother pointed out to me one day, and he's like, Jimmy, you look like you have a rash on the side of your face. And I was like, well, thank you. And I was like, make me really feel really great. And so I struggled with that, and once I started eating better, like I basically stick with chicken, fish, beef, but I don't like cook with butter. I use olive oil or sometimes Pam, depending on what I have in the house. I also use Beachbody on demand recipes because I don't really like to go surfing for different recipes or just coming up with something off the top of my head because I was like, can someone just give me a cheat sheet? There's too many things I could come up with cooking. I like turkey burgers.
Yeah.
I just had tonight. Thank you, Whole Foods.
Yeah. There you go, for sure. Well, very good. So literally, and we saw that happen. We saw nutrition play a part in a lot of young people dealing with acne as well. That just nutrition changes could help. Even my wife, and she dealt with just some spots that she's like, wow, this is great. Well, once nutrition was approached from a different angle, things changed, and so it's fascinating to watch that happen. And folks, I got to tell you a funny story. I'm reading one of Jimmy's blogs. I don't know, what was it, about a month ago, Jimmy? Probably about a month ago. Yeah. And I'm sitting at my desk eating. I got my hands going in this box of cereal, this einkorn flake cereal from Young Living Essential Oils. And I'm sitting there just eating the dry cereal. And as I'm reading his blog, he's like, oh, my favorite cereal is Young Living Essential Oils, einkorn flakes. I'm like, what? I'm like, Jimmy, I start typing away. I'm actually eating the cereal you're talking about. So, I mean, it wasn't that funny. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I live on this stuff. And einkorn is a type of flower, if you will, or, that's got a lot of, I believe, I'm not mistaken, I didn't investigate it, but a lot of chromosomes narrowed down to just basic ones. And it's just not as processed, a flower, if you will, as most things are today. And it's just a wonderful product I hope I have that right, Young Living, sorry. But any rate, I love this. And I have einkorn right here, the berries, which is a replacement I use this instead of rice or quinoa. Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. And I actually have some flour with me that I was going to bring, but it's a different form of wheat is what it really is.
Well, it's basically kind of like healthier than probably Cheerios. It's like everything in the basic that you can buy in the store, just processed.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny. So yeah, we love that attitude of, nutrition in our home as well. Now, do you cook a lot? You mentioned turkey burgers. Are you cooking these days or baking or?
There's a few times. Sometimes when I'm by myself, I tend to cook. But when my parents are home, they tend to do the cooking because I'm busy with schoolwork, podcasting, blogging, and right now I'm kind of just like I'm all over the place. And I learned something from my mom. If you want to cook a good meal ahead of time, you gotta make sure you have to know what you're cooking by right around lunchtime, or the deal's off. Yeah, like the dinner will be just messed up. And I did that on just my shore house once, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for dinner. This was like at 5 o'clock at night, and I had no idea what I was gonna do. I was like, so I did really bad planning.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to plan, right? I mean, it's the old, you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? On the dinner menu.
And I plan to fail.
Oh, interesting. So, hey, essential oils, is that part of your approach to healthier lifestyle?
Definitely. I have two things to say about it. One, I have my own diffuser bracelets. I wear them daily because I get stressed on the go. They don't look girly whatsoever. They're brown and black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Camera.
Yeah, we got a little look at it.
I also I use them for sleeping at night in my diffuser every single night. Not because I have any sleep troubles, but I always found it when I was younger. I feel like I kind of like it's kind of hard for me to get to sleep right away, and I was like, I can't get to sleep right away. I was like, this is annoying. And I'm just knocked out in like 2 seconds. And I was like, ooh, and it was like it feels like I was only asleep for 2 seconds, and my alarm wakes me up. And I was like, really? It's already 6:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
What the heck is going on here? And and I also had like really bad bags underneath my eyes, and I kind of been helping along improving it and using this recipe of coconut oil and lemon, and I did that for like a week, and my eyes the back started to fade, and I was like, wow, I was like, I know it's not FDA approved, but I feel like this is magic.
I mean, isn't it something? I try, I was a naysayer, many 5-6 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, this is kabuki stuff. I can't, but I travel with 18 bottles of essential oils every time I go out the door. And it's, it's amazing what these things can do for you in so many different realms of application. And it's amazing stuff. And we're a household that my wife's a Young Living essential oils dealer. So anybody out there, if you need any help, please contact us at SimpleBiz360.com. But yeah, we just love it and couldn't imagine doing life without it. Do you find that, okay, so we see this, and I'm not sure if you see this from your medical community, but when we engage with the medical community, it just seems like there's a propensity to want to diagnose you with something and give you a prescription for some type of medication to overcome what you're dealing with. And my wife and I reject that. We do. We'd rather take a natural approach to it. We'd rather take a preventive wellness approach. And you touched on this a little bit earlier in this podcast, where, you said you went off that pill, you gained 30 pounds, you lost 30 pounds. But do you find in dealing with your medical community that those practitioners are focusing the same on medication, or are they suggesting alternative approaches like exercise, like nutrition more and more today? Are they leaning that way?
I kind of feel like it depends on your doctor.
Uh-huh.
I just started seeing a new family doctor, and like I've been having this like on and off knee pain. I don't say pain. I would say discomfort, because pain would be like, oh, I can barely walk on it. This was just like, oh, I feel something discomforting in my knee.
Yeah.
Where, like, oh, there's a big sharp pain and you
Yeah.
got sticking. And so I was taking Advil for it for a little bit, just to see if and this was before I got a new doctor. And so I got over counter Advil just to try that. That didn't work. So I was like, okay, let me try essential oils for it, because sometimes I found that to work if I had a little pain. That wasn't working. Sometimes, and then so after that, I went to my new doctor. He gave me knee exercises to do, and it's been feeling a lot better than it used to. And now after karate, I still have a little discomfort, but then it heals the next morning. It's like, wow, I didn't know what these simple knee stretches are. Because I thought he was going to say, oh, well, just take this drug and make you feel better. And it's like, no thanks.
Yeah. I mean, right. Isn't that amazing? I mean, so it's just great that you mentioned that, because there it is, knee exercises. So it's actually the exercise that helps you with the remedy and feeling better than it is anything you could take for it, which is just, I think we're finding as a society more and more and more of those answers to life's, nagging pains and situations. Yoga, I mean, I started doing yoga at 60. I'm not a regular yoga guy, but, I get into grooves where I'll go for a month and I'll, you do it sporadically, but I still do all my running stretches now using yoga moves. And oh my gosh, the quality of my, the way my body feels and the quality of my health, from an achy point of view, if you will, it's been eradicated by stretching properly. Isn't that amazing? Just using yoga moves. Beachbody too, by the way. That's what I do. So, it's great. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your insight on that. And so when you look at the wellness community, when you look at nutrition and you talk to your audience, do you find that, you guys are sharing recipes? Are you sharing foods? Are you sharing exercises as a collaborative effort after the podcast? Or
I would say just like a few things here and there. Like after I do some of my podcasts, I've helped some people just like maybe give them some business tools, or I give them some other things I've been doing. Some people don't ask me, or some people just tend to find everything on the website for themselves. And like some people found my glasses review from Warby Parker to be helpful, and people like my review on that. I'm kind of shocked.
Well, I tell you, it's I see more and more dependency on networking within my sister. Her son is, he's got diabetes, was diagnosed, I believe he was 10 years old. And so, that networking together with other mothers and other families and other children that are going through it, it's so helpful. And I would imagine that networking amongst everyone that you're interacting with is just so helpful that you can all kind of join in and find and share and discuss different remedies aside from medication that are helping the quality of life, which is awesome. So as a business professional, what do you like doing better? You like blogging, or do you like podcasting, or public speaking? What do you like best?
Well, I have two answers to that question. I like public speaking, and I also like podcasting. I used to like blogging, but not to throw anybody on the bus, but I find I'm getting tired of English classes and just writing so many papers this semester. I'm kind of just
yeah.
Like if I have to write anymore, I was like, and don't get me wrong, it's like I don't want to hang up the blogging or anything, but I just like, and it's like when I want to write the first paragraph the other day, I was like, I am nervous.
Yeah.
What do I want to write? And I was like, and this was for a Christmas post, and it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. It was like my creativity is shoot.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to hear because, I listen, I totally agree with the writing. I'm not in college now, but I can imagine with course content and everything, you've got to do so much of that. And it's for me, it's an arduous process. I was not a natural writer. My thoughts are very natural, but how I contextualize it, how I framework it, grammatically has been a challenge for me over my lifetime. Writing my book took me 3.5 years. And it's funny, I just listened to a Tim Ferriss podcast not too long ago where he was saying that, I believe something to the effect of, he would never write another book. He's written a bunch of books, but he said he would never write another book. He loves podcasting, and it's just so, I don't remember his exact words, but just so much more of a flowy, intimate thing. It just feels better. I personally like podcasting the best of all too, but writing a book and just writing in general, like I said, blogs it was just very, very hard for me to do that. But, so.
I also have to say that I think I wouldn't mind writing a book of myself, and I would only do like maybe one book, but I can see myself being a fictional writer who could come up with so many different. It takes a special kind of person out there who can come up with all that stuff and keep track of. Like, okay, this character is doing this in this book, and it's like, I can do it.
Yeah, no, it's very. Yeah, listen.
I would have a stack of papers up to here, and I would say, I'm overwhelmed and done.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, I love some of your and again, folks, you got to check especially if you're in this bandwidth of families and people that this content from Jimmy's website and blogs and podcasts can be beneficial. Please go check out his podcast. So some of the program content, I love you have a couple podcasts, just how you're dealing with the pandemic, part 1 and 2, which I thought was very interesting. I love the running episode because I'm obviously, Touch Me with Patricia, I believe is her name, if I have it right, Patricia Prince. That was interesting, and she's a cancer survivor, so that was pretty cool. And I guess October was tell me if I'm saying this wrong, National Anti-Bullying Month. If I get that right. And you do a podcast on bullying, and I have to go back and listen to the whole thing. I did not listen to the whole thing, but I guess my naivete, Jimmy, I just didn't realize that is such an issue. Do you feel comfortable just talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Where do you want me to start?
Well, I mean, so I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard somebody say the other day, my wife read me a quote from a young man who said the worst thing that ever happened to him was he got a cell phone. I think he was 14 years old because of bullying. And the bullying is just so much more out in the open and so much more widespread. I mean, I just, he wasn't autistic, but he was just, a kid dealing with bullying. But, seventh, eighth grade can be tough years. Man, those early years in high school can be tough with stuff like that. So how do you deal with it? How do you help people deal with it when you talk to them? How do you help them deal with that?
Well, I think what kind of helped me was I think the karate has helped me a lot to gain self-confidence. And I was going to, and I knew karate I don't know, years ago. I started in New Jersey, and once I moved, I went to Tiger Schulman's, where I'm with my sensei, the same exact sensei. I've known him for a long time. He's such a great person. I joke with my friends at karate that I have two fathers. He has the same exact personality as my father. And I was like, I don't know which home I'm going to. And it's like, it's the same exact, I feel like it's just an extension of my own home because same personality, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I feel like the karate helped me build self-confidence, losing the weight, gaining confidence, and I think what also helped was just was able to time it right to stick up to the bullies in math class. I timed it where my teacher was writing something on the board, and he wasn't really talking in math class. And I went up and yelled at the bullies in class, and I really felt bad for interrupting the teacher and everything in the class. But I was tired of the bullying, and the principals wasn't doing much. And some of them in high school were doing a lot, but the ones in middle school wasn't doing much of anything. And so finally I got the confidence to yell in my math class, and I got sent down to the principal's office anyway, but the principal knew I was standing up for my friends and myself, and they didn't expel me, they didn't suspend me. And the reason I did it in my math class, I was like, well, if I do it here, I have witnesses, so no one can do anything to me, can't lay a hand on me. Where if I do it out in the hallway, there might be a camera, but there might be a blocked out spot where the camera doesn't see anything, and I could get my butt kicked. But even though I knew karate and everything, I was like, okay, I know karate. And this was like a few years when I was taking a break from karate, but I was like, okay, do I do it here in my math class, or do I use my karate techniques if I have to?
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it in the math class. And I was like, worst case, you get caught by the teacher, you get thrown out, you go to the principal's office. My parents are not going to be really mad. So I was like, it's a done deal. I raised the pros and cons within like 10 seconds.
Yeah. I bet you're probably like a computer trying to figure that one out. Like, what do I do? Okay, boom, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And it's just such a shame that, that's been a lifelong type thing where, those age groups, it's just so hard to, bullying just becomes, it seems like it's just a component that it may be age related in so many ways. And then, one day the pendulum shifts and, you're looked at from everyone else with great admiration. And, I'm just, and it's, isn't that weird how all of a sudden a different crowd of people, they admire you and they look up to you and they just are fascinated by your life. And on the other side of that coin can be bullying. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's like the people in my psych class, I actually had to do a presentation to them. It's via Zoom, and obviously it was recorded. But I I was really nervous about sharing my life story with them because I was like, um, I was like, is anybody gonna make fun of me? And I was like, I know there's nothing to make fun of, but I was like, but anybody can come up with
Yeah.
just being kind of a jerk and saying something
Yeah.
totally nonsense. But a lot of people wrote to, on the software my school uses Blackboard, and they wrote to me and was like, I was like, your story is very eye opening, and it's like, and I could see you as a motivational speaker and a speaker for the autism community. And I was like, that just made my day.
Well, I'm so, I mean, tough stuff, man. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you sharing that. I know that could be tough, but you know what? The sky's the limit. You're 27. We talked about, grooming some of the public, speaking skills and just, immerse yourself into as much as you can. Even the podcast, certainly help give anyone a public speaking polish but it's, when you get up in front of people, it is, can be nerve wracking. But I know when I started it, and we've shared a little bit about this, when I started it in the late 80s, I started it because I read a book, and in the book, the gentleman said in the book that, only 7% of CEOs have public speaking experience. 93% don't. So get yourself involved in situations where you can get up in front of people, break that ice, become familiar with it, do it repetitively, and you'll get better at it as long as you dissect your strengths and weaknesses from your presentation. So, I did it a lot in the late 80s. I spent some time in children's theater, Christian children's theater with my kids, which got me up on the stage in front of 500, 600 people in an auditorium quite often. We had 5 shows a summer we put on. And, it's something that for those of us who feel comfortable doing it, it comes across in the audience that you're comfortable, and you certainly are getting more and more comfortable. Even in your podcast, as I listen to them, you can just tell you're really getting into your, getting comfortable with the process and being at the mic. And today's interview is very engaging. I certainly appreciate it. And just a couple more. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine.
One funny thing you said about that though, because like when I was recording my presentation to my class, I felt very awkward because I was just talking to my own self at the camera, and it's like, oh, so and like here's my life story, and it's like, and I'm just like twirling and fidgeting and everything, and I was like, oh, this is really awkward. And yet when I'm like recording my own podcast or I'm talking to another podcaster or on another guest podcast, I'm just myself, and I'm like, I don't feel nervous at all when I'm talking to someone else or I'm on a new podcast. So just doing myself for presentations, I'm like,
well, it's shining through. I mean, it's coming through. It really is. No question about it. So a couple more questions. What, as a young entrepreneur with your hands in a lot of different, pots, so to speak, doing a lot of different things, what would be your advice to any young entrepreneur that's thinking about making the leap into the business world?
I would say that you should definitely go follow your dreams. I had to quote this one singer. His name is Drake Bell. He's not like really famous, but people might know him from the show Drake and Josh, which was a Nickelodeon show. I watched growing up. And one of the lyrics was that, you got to be what you want to be. And I actually quoted it on social media the other day. And I've been listening to that song on and off for the last few weeks because it is those simple lyrics just keep roaming around my head. And it's like, you got to be what you want to be. And I was like, I definitely know that I want to be a motivational speaker. And so I was like, I got to start acting like one. And it's like, so take a walk in whatever you want to do in those people's shoes. So if somebody is, I don't know, let's say you want to be an author, well, start typing a lot of words, start saving your documents, and and eventually you'll have enough doors for a book. Uh, and it's like you gotta live the life you want to live. You can't just be like, oh, it's gonna come knocking to me on that door. Nothing comes to you and knocking on the door.
Right.
You gotta make opportunities happen.
Right. Bingo. Yeah. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So very good advice. So just make sure, and follow your dreams, and, and you're certainly one that's, you're proving this out to us all here. How do people get in touch with you? If someone wants to hire you as a motivational speaker, or they want to listen to your podcast, how do they get in touch with you?
You can go to crazyfitnessguy.com, and I have a speaking page, and there's a forum that says speaking on the website, and there's a forum that says, and then there's a calendar button that says request me to speak, or you can get in touch with me on social media, or which is Jimmy.Clare.speaker on Facebook, and that's also for Instagram. And on Twitter is Jimmy Clare Speak, all one word.
Okay.
Of course, Twitter didn't like the extra ER. God forbid, 17 characters.
Okay.
And Pinterest, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, and we're going to have your links up on our YouTube. So if someone wants to hit show more on the YouTube program, and there'll be some pull downs there, we'll have your website, we'll have some links to your podcast. And again, the podcast, I want to get it right. It's Crazy Fitness Guy Healthy Living Podcast. A little bit different than your handle on the website, which is just crazyfitnessguy.com, correct?
Yeah. And there's also a podcast link on the website as well. So if somebody doesn't get all of that.
Yep. On many different venues, including YouTube. It's just not a visual experience on YouTube. It's still an audio, but you're on a lot of different listening platforms as well, which is very cool. So Jimmy, you read my book, which I thank you so much for doing, and you put a great review out on Goodreads, which I really appreciate. And so what I always ask people, what's your favorite part of the book, SimpleBiz360?
Well, one of my favorite parts is where the try, apply, and try method, and I give you I like to give the example where I've been I used to use a lot of push notifications on my website, and eventually I never got a good return on my investment. I mean, all the tools I used were for free, but it just the time that it took me to set it up, which wasn't long, but
right.
It is like, I maybe got like maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 subscribers at the most. And I was like, if I got like 1,000, it'd be worth my time,
right.
But this is terrible. And also one of my old newsletter companies, well, they're not really old, but I'm calling them old because I've been with them for a whole year, and they couldn't use some holiday newsletters, and very easily, automatically for me. And they told me last year that I set it up correctly, and now they told me this year that I didn't set it up correctly. And it's like, what's with you guys? Now you're giving me information later on this year when I wanted to send out a campaign automatically, like my Halloween one. It's like, you have to do it this way. And it's like, too late now, I'm already switching to some other company. And it's like, you could have, like, if you got back to me on the weekend when I missed the Halloween one, and so I could fix everything in a timely manner, but you got back to me on a Monday. And it's like, I get it, maybe it's not that big a deal for other people, but it's like, I got stuff to do. I don't have time to wait for people's replies every single time. And
yep.
It's like that customer support.
So push notifications out the door, right? Fry it,
yep.
Right? I'm going to do without it. Well, and that's and I appreciate the feedback. So what Jimmy's talking about is a central theme in the front of the book. We talk about the try it, apply it, or fry it, testing phase of a new idea. So let's say you pick up one of our tips in the book. it's a 1% at a time tip. It's a small little tip. And you know what? It's worth a try if you think it's good, and do it for 30 days. If you don't like it, you can always fry it and move on to something else. But if you like it, if you like what it's done for you, then you apply it as part of your procedures. You incorporate it rather in your procedures, and it becomes part of your company. So we appreciate that feedback. And, you told me your answer on this next question, but this is great. So at the end of every show, we pick a Lost in the Shuffle track, which just means it's an old rock and roll tune, and it might not have been the most popular tune, but it's a song that means something to you. And I asked you, hey, do you have anything that you would pick for Lost in the Shuffle track? And man, you had your answer right away. Share with us your answer if you could.
Well, my answer to that question is AC/DC, Are You Ready? And the reason why I like that song is because it goes into like a very slow intro. Well, not like very slow, but it starts off slow, and then the chorus comes in and there's "Are you ready?" And I said to my parents, and it's like, how many times I have a dream that I had the same exact dream pretty much like constantly throughout my career as a motivational speaker, where I could see myself using just that small bit of intro. And of course, give credit to AC/DC or using it on stage in front of like 100,000 plus people. And I was like, I could see this.
Yeah.
And I just, are you ready? And I was like, come on, AC/DC, please let me use it.
And you were saying your brother, I guess he exposed you to it. And we say back in the days, turned you on to it, and so you kind of learned AC/DC from the brother, and then is that right?
Yeah, and I went to two of their concerts, and I can see why people really want to flip over cars afterwards.
Yeah,
it was like my ears were ringing for like days.
Oh, for sure. Well, they are Australian royalty, no question about it. And certainly one of the iconic rock and roll bands that ever was. So no, great pick. That's off the Razor's Edge album, I believe, from 1980. So yeah, very cool. Well, we appreciate you sharing that, Jimmy. And folks, if you see looking at Jimmy up over his right shoulder to your far left there, that's his dad on the wall there, a caricature of Mr. Clare, Dennis Clare, who I got to know in the mid 80s, as I said at the beginning of the show. So I just want you to please extend a very nice and warm hello to your dad for me. I tell you what, Jimmy, I spent 3 years working in the Wall Street area, and I would always ask very successful. I dealt with executives like your dad, and I would always ask them, what kind of advice could they give a young pup like myself? And I really came away from that experience calling on banks and brokerage houses and insurance companies where your dad worked for. I really came away with really one phrase, and that was be professional. And define professionalism the way you are comfortable defining it, but be professional. And that's also in the front of my book. And I will tell you, your dad was, he etched a very permanent mark on my business mind of how I wanted to be. And he was very much a benchmark figure in my early life. So tell your dad I said hello, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we just really appreciate your time, Jimmy. We appreciate you telling your story and engaging with us. CrazyFitnessGuy.com, Crazy Fitness Guy Healthy Living Podcast. You can find it on so many different venues. We really appreciate that. We are streaming to you today from the new studios where we were stlouispodcast.com. We're now Half Coast Studios we're coming from. But this is my, I think, fourth studio, actually. Yeah, actually third studio, sorry. My fourth is my basement. So this is the best of all I've been in with these guys. They do a wonderful job, take care of me, really, really great. So I appreciate it. And, I want to shout out to Kelly Johnson Foundation. She's doing 2 runs, turkey trots up in Madison, Wisconsin, and then one in the Chicagoland area. We are a corporate sponsor of her Madison, Wisconsin run, which when this episode airs with Jimmy, it's going to be a couple days later after Thanksgiving. So we just shout out to her. We hope all the runners up there in Madison and the Chicagoland area, I think the Chicagolands are virtual, but Kelly, have a great time up in Madison. Hope everything goes well. Jimmy, Happy Thanksgiving to you. We hope you have a great holiday. You're destined for greatness. You really have a great mission. I really am excited that there's people like yourself out there that are willing to step out and do what you do. So, Jimmy, you go get him, brother, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm sure we'd love to have you back for another episode. And take care, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. Jimmy?
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. You have a wonderful holiday, sir.
You too.
All right, take care.